So please don't go there for pragmatic reasons. There's another pragmatic reason not to use it. I do not think our enemy is our dentists or doctors. The enemy here is that those dentists and doctors are not reading the literature. That's the enemy. It's ignorance which is the enemy. The doctors and dentists. And I'm frightened that the moment you start talking about Hitler using fluoride, you're sort of implicating them in a horrendous plot, a very nasty plot. And I don't want to stigmatize dentists and doctors. And I think the problem for most of them is they're too darn busy treating patients to read the literature. And I have the time. I'm a retired professor. I can spend all my time on this issue. They can't. And the real problem is that they, despite not reading the literature, they are prepared, some of them, not all of them, some of them are prepared to go on a public platform and say it's safe and effective when they haven't read the literature, and that's not good. Yep, next one.
I agree, there is no reason to go there, to stick with the science.
Yes.
The science is really that simple. When we purchase water, all we're trying to purchase is H2O. We're not trying to purchase fluoride, chlorine, which actually comes in a bottle of southern crossroads lines with water with chlorine. My question is, though, we do purchase it. And I understand the city government just recently approved in London the fluoridation of the water. I saw on the news, and someone correct me if I'm wrong. And I want to know about the money, as a lot of us do, because we pay taxes here. Family's done it for 4 generations. And I wanted to know, since we have councilors here this evening and some of the press, and maybe some people here know correctly, how much money have we committed to spending on something that I didn't want to buy anything more than H2O. I want to know the exact amount. For this year. For this year, we committed
50,000?
150,000.
150,000.
138, 139, doing that right. That's what 138,000 last year.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and also the question, since they just approved it, now we're having this meeting post them approving it just 4 weeks, which we were here a month or two ago. What can we do to reverse that decision? What, we have to walk like the Egyptian on City Hall? I mean, what do we have to do?
Ask if Denise Brown wants to answer that question.
You know, reverse that. Is there a way to get it reversed?
Well, maybe some of the councillors here can give us some advice of what we can do. My experience is, if this kind of turnout takes place, I mean, it's huge. A standing room only of an audience that was at least 300 people here.
300, yeah.
Politicians are not blind to that. If they see that, and I found this with incineration too, Canadians are much more reasonable than Americans. When I found audiences of this size fighting incineration, the politicians very quickly recognized that the people didn't want incinerators and didn't pursue it. And I think the same thing is going to happen with your politicians. Despite what they've been told by the health department, if you make it very clear, very, very clear that you don't want this, they will get the message. They will find a way to stop this. I'm convinced of that.
No fluoride.
Yeah.
Just make sure
you fill out your name and email on the registry that was going around as well, and you'll get some feedback from the fluoride, or from the people against, or people for safe drinking water, if they have to do some follow-up, some sort of plebiscite or petition.
Robert, you never got an audience this size in Waterloo, right?
No, Waterloo is a very conservative town and very resistant to change.
Yeah.
Despite Jim being there,
Yeah. Okay.
get an audience.
we have about 5 minutes left.
Okay,
here,
5
yeah.
minutes, very quickly. Sorry, I've been long-winded. Quickly.
Hi, my name is Stefania, and I'm part of the Young Moms Group. And we had London Middlesex Health Unit coming to us and telling us that as we were pregnant and as we were having our children, they were telling us that we were not healthy people if we were not drinking 8 to 9 glasses of water a day.
Right.
Tap water, straight tap water. And she's telling us that our water is safe enough for us and our children. And even right now in my mom's group, you are told to give your child, right, from literally as soon as they are 6 months old, to give them either their infant formula, your breast milk, or straight water from the tap.
Yeah.
And they told me, I was telling my daughter, like, I don't give my daughter fluoridated water. And she told me there was not enough of fluoride in our water to do anything to my daughter, and I should be giving my 2-year-old daughter 3 little cups of water a day,
Yeah.
or she's not going to be healthy.
Unfortunately, the people that give you this advice are just following advice that somebody else has given them, and they don't challenge it. So they need to do their homework. Please take this information and give it to them so they have it. Yes?
Hi there. I am from Oxford County, which is next door, and we're 100% groundwater dependent in Oxford County, so that's different from London that gets its water from the surface water source out of the lake. But we are part of the Thames Valley District School Board, which I think is the second largest school board in all of Canada. Our average fluoride intake naturally is 2.0 parts per million, and we have had no luck convincing the Thames Valley District School Board to even send out a notification to the parents that this exceeds drinking water standards for fully grown adults, never mind children that are in critical phases of development. Do you have any suggestions for...
Yeah, I definitely think your water board in particular must get that warning on the bill. And definitely in years to come, they're going to have to talk about removing the fluoride from your water. It's going to be expensive, but we're going to have to remove it. 2 parts per million is actually above the Canadian standard, which is 1.5 parts per million. So legally, they should remove it.
I think the problem is that as the current legislation is written for the province of Ontario, if it's a naturally occurring problem like what we have, there's nothing that needs to be done. So legally, the Thames Valley District School Board says we don't have to do anything, which they are confusing with it's safe for consumption.
Well, that may be the legal position, but it's absolute poppycock. The assumption that something's okay because it occurs naturally is lunacy. Arsenic occurs naturally, but we have Western states which are spending a fortune removing arsenic to get it down to the safe drinking water standard. So the same thing should apply with fluoride. You've got a drinking water standard of 1.5 parts per million, and if you've got over that, you should be required to remove it. So somebody needs to look at that law again. Next one.
I actually was going to comment on what the guy did earlier about, even if there's people in here who aren't convinced that fluoridation is bad for them, I'm sure everybody can be convinced that spending an extra $130,000 or $50,000 a year of our money to be paid for our water. I mean, we want a lower water bill for something that's not necessary. Something else is good. But you've always said that this is to benefit the metal industry, or the industries. Like, who is actually, if they stop fluoridating London's water, who's actually going to lose their job first? Who's pushing to keep the fluoridation of the water? I don't understand.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody understands.
It's like this big cloud of people that's going to be losing money or something like that, but who actually is going to say, that can't happen because I'm going to be out of a job or something?
The motivations we left to the last chapter very, very quickly. I think that some entities are worried about liabilities. I think the toothpaste manufacturers are worried about liabilities. I think the dental associations that have promoted and put their seal of approval on dental products with fluoride in it, they're worried about liabilities. With the health departments, they're worried, the public health people are worried about credibility. Lose fluoridation, you lose credibility. Lose credibility, and you have to worry about other public health practices. That's, I think, what's motivating.
Okay, but you mentioned also that there's these big containers now. It's toxic waste. It's toxic waste now because they can't get rid of it.
Yep.
Where is that coming from, and now who's having to pay to get rid of it?
Yeah, it's the phosphate fertilizer industry.
It's the fertilizer industry that's at stake to have to pay now to get rid of this waste?
It is hazardous waste, no question about that. So if it's not used for drinking water, then they've got to find an industrial use for it, or they've got to contain it on site, or they've got to send it to a hazardous waste facility.
Okay, we're really, it's about a quarter to, so.
Isn't that the councilman? No, okay.
Hi, my name is Jay, and first off, I would like to say, am I interested in
Louder, please.
purchasing one of your books, Addiction?
Addiction. I have a few copies tonight, yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
And also, I would like to mention that I've been living with hypothyroidism ever since I was 12, And I've always been aware of fluoridation, but recently I started to pay a lot of attention, and it could also explain, like, as to why, like, every time I have a glass of tap water now, like, shortly after my thyroid gland, it feels like there's a pressure upon it, and it can be painful.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more and more frequent as of recently, so I made a conscious decision to completely just cut out tap water. Like, before I never really cared. I wasn't really that concerned, but now it's starting to take its toll on me. So, yeah.
Well, it's a pity that Health Canada is not interested in you or people like you, because they should be. They should be. They should at least investigate this scientifically and not leave people like you to sink or swim, depending on their own devices. This is their practice. They're putting fluoride in the water. They may be damaging your thyroid gland. They should take responsibility, but they're not.
I think this is going to be our last
question. Oh, this is the last question,
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
afraid,
think we have to.
Because we
you have to do your book signing.
I have to do book signing. Oh, my goodness.
I just want to say there'd be no safety in just going with bottled water either, since there could be municipal water mixed in with bottled water anyway, so you're not safe there either. But I know you're not a professional, someone involved in the health industry that way, but based on your knowledge, should London get swayed a lot by money issues? So should North America remove fluoridization right across the board? What would you anticipate the percentage of a decrease in health budgets for both Canada and the United States if fluoride was removed entirely? I know, say per year.
It could be enormous. It could be enormous. Let's do the easy ones. The symptoms of fluoride, arthritis. The amount of money that's spent on painkillers to treat arthritis, if that's exacerbated by fluoride, that's a huge money saver right there. Hypothyroidism. The second most prescribed drug in the United States is Synthroid, which is for hypothyroidism. Again, if fluoride is contributing to that and you stop fluoridation, then that would save a huge amount of money. But I think the big one is, because we took the eye off the prize in the 1940s by putting our money on fluoridation instead of education, and we gave out the message to parents, don't worry about reducing sugar consumption because you've got fluoride to protect your children's teeth. One of the outcomes of that is this outrageous increase in obesity. So if we could now couple the two things and say, let's take the money out of the fluoridation equipment, the fluoridation chemicals, the fluoridation promotion, the fluoridation studies, and put it into health clinics and education, not only to fight tooth decay, but to fight obesity. And by addressing this huge overconsumption of sugar, particularly high fructose syrup, all these things would have a huge payoff for us. It's waiting to happen. And that would be the best experiment to take. The best experiment is to stop fluoridation and see how many people get better. That would be a great experiment.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much for your passion and commitment on this issue. And please remember to acknowledge your city councillors and educate your city councillors, and acknowledge the library as well. Thank them for letting us use this room. And Dr. Conant, if you could clear a path for him, he's got to get up to the top of the stairs there and do a book signing. So go, OJ, go.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.